This is Formula SAE FastCast, the official podcast of the Formula SAE series. Hey guys, welcome to FastCast, the Formula SAE podcast. I'm Mike Sorg. You may have seen me around some of the events in past years, and this year I'm giving more of a voice to the podcast, I suppose, here. And of course, I'll see you guys out there again with camera in hand as usual at the Formula events this year in Michigan and Lincoln, and who knows, maybe someplace new we'll be talking about here. We have the crew in here today. Of course, you all know Kaley Zundel, program manager of Formula SAE. How you doing, Kaley?
I'm good. Thank you.
You're ready for the first podcast of the season? You're in a new location.
Not really, no.
Nope.
But let's go.
And hey, this is the show where we're going to be talking about everything that's new this season. And again, somebody that was around last season, but the first on the podcast, Ryan Good is with us. He is the University Programs Coordinator of Formula SAE as well. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm good, Mike. Glad to be here.
So you've been on since was it the beginning of the year that you joined?
I joined January 3rd of last year, and loved every minute of it so far.
I think there's some sarcasm in there.
There you go. Yeah, I know you've been around at a lot of the events and everything, and getting acclimated to everything. Kaley, what is new? Where do we start? I guess the rules are the big thing we should probably get into first.
Yeah, so obviously most of the teams, if they're listening, have already been aware of the rules change. Typically with Formula SAE, we try to put the rules out a year before the next season's competition. So our 2019 rules actually came out in May of 2018. And this year we actually did not too many actual changes to the rules as far as the technical changes, but we just completely rewrote the entire rule set, making it a little bit more user-friendly for the readers, honestly, even a little bit more user-friendly for our own volunteers. So, and it just really needed cleaned up. One of the things that maybe the team members, I'm sure they're aware of, but they just don't see it or understand it on a daily basis, obviously, because they're not deeply ingrained in our rules. But we have rules committee meetings, and every so many years we change rule committee members, rule committee chair. So after a number of years, a number of revisions, you can see, you could really start to see the different tones from different people in the rule set. So this year our rules chair decided to do a complete new rewrite, so it's nice and fresh. And honestly, it'll bring us a little bit more in line with the global rule set as well that international competitions are also using.
And I think for those curious, there's a recent video that went up for for program management, and she breaks down the rules and the changes pretty well visually in there. If you need to kind of see where those went.
Yeah, so Emily, who's actually a former University of Pittsburgh FSAE team member, and I believe she was even the team captain one year, but she serves on our technical group that's on site, as well as the online document reviews, and she puts on a seminar every year, and I didn't get to attend it this year. Unfortunately, I had schedule conflicts, but one of our other staff members did go and said it was really good. And so yeah, we had you come out and record it, and I believe it's online.
No, so keep an eye out for that. That'll be in the communications here soon if you haven't seen it already, guys.
Coming with the rules, we also have required document templates. So one of the, I guess, is a major change, but again, didn't change anything with the technical content. But we had two individuals that lead the SES document review really stepped forward this year and did a tremendous job on reformatting our SES documents that the students have to use for their structural equivalency. And again, they made the document very user-friendly, both for the student side as well as the document reviewer side. With the number of teams that we have competing in the U.S. competitions, in addition to the teams who are also still on the wait list, because we have to review those teams too in the event that we pull them up off the wait list. They need to be just as prepared as the teams on the registered list. There's a lot of teams that have to be reviewed, and we actually only have a small committee. I think we're up to like 15 reviewers now. And we really don't want to go that much higher than that, because then we start losing that consistency in the review process. But we needed to make the review process easier for them. Based on the number of questions, rules questions we were getting, on the old templates. We honestly needed to make it even a little bit easier for the students to understand. And the document's not supposed to be a document used to help the students build their vehicle. It's really more to confirm what they are thinking of designing. So they are actually supposed to do all the work, put the information in, and then the document now is actually really great. It's pretty cool. It's color coded with different colors. So like if you get blue, you're good to go, based on, or pending on official review. If you're like yellow, it's like, we think you're good. You might be stretching a point somewhere, but based on official review, again, we'll see. And then if you're red, just blatantly, you're not ready. Like your design just flawed somewhere. So that's pretty cool. And then also with the rules change, when we first released the rule set, there was two parts that were missing, or vaguely written, I should say. One was the cost area. We've really cleaned that up, going more to the whole online submission of a cost report only, no more hard copies required, which is pretty cool. And then the second is the presentation event, which is still a little bit up in the air. But what we're trying to do with that is we've gotten rid of the business logic case, which was a required document that was originally designed to pull in design, sales, and cost all into a document so that it could be consistently judged across the 3 different events with 3 different types of volunteers. But honestly, we recognized it wasn't really doing what we had initially designed it to do. So taking that and throwing it out, we just thought, okay, presentation skill sets are still very important for students. So let's think of something that maybe doesn't have to be directly tied to the cost or directly tied to design. And so this year we're actually thinking, our committee, actually a small group of presentation volunteers, event captains, are working on creating an actual scenario. So we will give all the students the exact same scenario, but how they develop the resolution and present on it will be actually kind of interesting. And then I think too, for the judges, will make it a little bit easier for them to actually judge, because our original rules were a little bit vague. It just said you had to come in and do a presentation on the car to fictitious, automobile manufacturers or executives. And so we got, presentations that were great, but all over the place, like from presentations based on facilities designed around a car, to a dating service designed around a car, to the car itself. Like, they were all really great, but it made it really hard to judge based on the actual concept of the rules. So this change, honestly, we're kind of viewing it as maybe a transitional change. This might not be what we do or what we see in 2020. The committee's having discussions about this. Maybe it's something we start tying a little bit more into the actual cost event, or maybe it's going to be something tied at the beginning of the design event, or we're gonna continue discussing that. And so in 2020 we may see some additional changes for presentation, but we just have a lot of little things that are all starting to happen. So
a lot of the facilities are going to look a little different this year as far as the layout and some of the things that are going on. Let's start with Michigan. Some big changes. We previewed some of those changes for endurance last year on the podcast, and it looks like some of those might be taking effect this year, right?
Yeah. So one of the major changes taking place at Michigan is we will be expanding the endurance events outside of the back oval where we're typically running. We will be going into the infield. So again, it's something we're going to try, similar to what last year. We tried something new last year. We got some mixed reviews. We had students who really love it, and then we had students that really hated it.
The dreaded hairpin turn that got a feature in the highlights.
I know, but what's funny is that hairpin turn, we actually designed it to be like, I think it was like 10% bigger than what it's actually maxed in the rule or something. Yeah. But I do admit, probably the fact that it was on like that uneven pavement maybe was a little bit had to do with it, but it was in spec. It was,
Those poor volunteers had to run all day long getting
I
cones. I felt
know.
so bad watching that.
Yeah, but I mean, that was a big complaint, but honestly, we had bigger complaints about teams not being able to leave
Right.
because with expanding the endurance course the way we did, we couldn't allow teams to get in and out of the gate 12 that they're typically using with their large transporters because the course was running. So the way we look at the course this year is we will still be utilizing those entry points onto the back oval. However, because we won't be going the whole way down the back stretch of the back runway there. If teams do need to leave, we are looking at a way of getting them to come out. You know, there's an area at the end of the suites that students are familiar with near the pedestrian tunnels. They can get out and drive on the very bottom of the race oval. It's a nice flat surface that we can safely guide them through there and then out that gate 12 if they need to leave before endurance is over. So we're looking at issues like that. You know, but a trade-off is going to be that we are probably not going to have as great of spectator viewing for the event, but one of the things we are currently looking at is, do we have the manpower? Do we have the equipment ability? Both a forklift or the number of barriers we would need to bury off the infield road course to allow for some spectating in there. We're looking at all those kind of things. Another challenge is also if a car breaks down on the track, will we safely push the vehicle off into further into the inside of the track on the grass or a gravel area so that the course can still continue running, or will we have to actual hard shut down the course to get a car off track? Or we're just so many different little things that when we just push it out there and we really thought about it, it looked great. And then now that we're getting into the little nitty gritty parts of the operations, it's becoming a little challenging. So
That compact design was always really great for access, right?
it
And now
was,
it kind of
yeah.
turns into like what we see with Baja, where like you need to have people kind of spread out a little bit more.
We do, yeah. So when we had the shorter, I mean, we were still spec as far as our rules with the length of the course endurance, but when we were very compacted, it lent to very boring courses, pretty much straight and back. And we started seeing that in our feedback from time to time. And quite honestly, our volunteers are getting just as bored with it. So that's why in 2018, we tried to extend the course, put a little bit more exciting, some elements in there, similar to what we can do in Lincoln. Because a Lincoln, it's different pavement. I mean, it's a wide open space. And we get some teams that, you know, attend both competitions, and so they start spreading that conversation, plus we post videos, and so it's easy to see that kind of information. Um, but uh, so yeah so this year we're going to try it. I'm 100% ready to hear whether people like it or not. All I'm asking is that just keep an open mind to it. We're obviously trying to give you the best of both worlds, but in reality, you'll find that can't always happen. So, we'll just see how it goes. I mean, we're hoping that the the new course, it's going to be longer, so teams drivers will do a few less laps, but we'll be able to put a few more cars on time. So again, maybe another added benefit is we won't be here till 8 o'clock at night waiting for the award ceremony to start. So many little trade offs that were should be an interesting year. But that's for Michigan. And then it seems like all the event sites are going to have some changes this year. For those who come to Lincoln, we've been running there for a number of years now, and we have our events layout pretty well defined. And this year we're going to be challenged. At the end of last year, there's an Air Force Reserve base in Omaha, Nebraska that's currently getting their airport or their runways and things like that redone. So during this time frame, they are having to relocate to the Lincoln Air Park auxiliary airport, lanes that we currently, the tarmacs we run on. And they are going to be, so students who have been there, they are familiar with the break and practice area. There's that nice bright orange fence that you can't go beyond. the Air Force people are going to be operating from above that down into our space a little bit. So also they're doing some construction right now because of all that. So they're repaving, reconcreting places that come into our area a little bit as well. At this current time, we don't know if we're going to be affected in June when the event takes place. It depends on how fast the construction people are moving. So we are going to plan for the worst case possible and plan that we're going to be affected. So maps that we may start putting out here in the new year may show some of these changes, but when we get up on site, the few days prior to, and we see that construction hasn't reached our areas, we may actually resort back to one of our 2018 layout, just because we know it works, it's functional. Yeah, so again, with that one, it's just, flexibility. It's all we can ask. So
It might look different. It might be just fine.
yeah, exactly. So either way, I'm not hoping. Students will still have the experience that, they want to gain from this competition, regardless of how the competition looks. So
excellent. Anything else new to either of those competitions this year, other than some of the layout changes potentially?
To Michigan and Lincoln, no, probably not at this point. Things pop up all the time, but Ryan and I are definitely going to be tested this year because we have another Formula SAE competition, which I think most teams obviously know about now as well. But we have acquired the previous Formula North competition, and it's now been rebranded for Formula SAE North. So we'll see that this spring as well, and I believe we're going to do a podcast about that. So I'll leave more information about that. But yeah, we'll probably see some changes at that event as well. Obviously, Ryan's new.
What are new things that Ryan's going to be doing?
Ryan got to experience a crazy year last year. We had a crazy Formula experience to begin with last year, but he was introduced to Michigan. That was his first Formula event, in which we unfortunately had a staff member who had to leave due to a death in the family. So we got shorthanded. And then on top of that, Ryan, you got your first experience?
With Formula Lincoln?
No, Michigan.
Oh, are you speaking about the weather?
Yeah.
Yeah. So getting stuck in that trailer out on the track and being told I wasn't allowed to leave.
So Ryan got stuck out on the track during the Endurance lightning storm.
Oh.
So, yeah, he was out there working with the scorekeeping people.
Oh, yes.
So, while we did have to shut down, Ryan and our national scorekeeper, Steve Savitz, and the event captain, Laura, they took advantage of that shutdown time, and they actually started processing all the earlier runs that day. So Ryan got exposed to that, and then, we go to Lincoln, and it's pouring down rain.
Yep.
That to the point where we were up until, I think, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, having a meeting prior to the teams, the day before teams are going to be arriving, thinking, okay, if this is going to continue, what is our contingency plan?
Yeah, because it was weird because I got there the next morning. The rain didn't have anywhere to go. There was just like a layer of water on the concrete. And I'm just like, what?
Well, yeah, so the way that tarmac is actually designed, it all flows down to that central point where all those drains are, which is where a lot of our operations take place. So, but our concern was it wasn't even just the rain. It was the storms that were supposed to be coming through because, as the students experienced in Michigan and probably other events, lightning, we have to shut down, especially at those venues that have policies in place, obviously. But yeah, so Ryan got kind of, what's that, trial by fire, right? Is that term?
Yeah, and even on top of that, also at Formula Lincoln, there was a unfortunate death.
Yeah, we had another staff member, a different staff member, obviously have another unfortunate, family member. So again, we became shorthanded. At an event, we're kind of actually already shorthanded to begin with. But you know what? Ryan was fantastic. He just, picked up and just started doing whatever needed to be done. If you asked for something to be done, he'd do it. If he saw something had to be done, he didn't even wait to be asked. He just went and did it. So it was really great. He's been a good addition to the group. So
I feel like there's some sarcasm in that as well.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, and I know I saw him at some of the other SAE events
Yes.
going into it. He was definitely in the zone by the time we got to Lincoln.
Right, yeah. So one of the things that Ryan did have to be exposed to, I guess, is as the program coordinators, so we have two of them on staff, they do try to go to each other's events to support them, both in the registration and then later in other different roles. So Ryan did get to go see Clean Snowmobile this year. He got to go to 2 area designs or just one?
I went to one area.
Yeah, one area design, all 3 Bajas though.
All 3 Bajas.
All 3 Bajas.
No, I apologize. I only went to 2 Bajas. I didn't go to Oregon. Sorry, guys.
Oh, that's right. You didn't go to Oregon. But yeah, so he went to at least 2 Bajas and then obviously the 2 formulas. So the only event he didn't get to see that we actually manage, because we do snowmobile, the Formula Series, but we also do super mileage. So it's the only event he hasn't gotten to see yet. But unfortunately, the schedules always overlap Baja and super mileage. So he will probably never see that, unless he just doesn't go to that Baja that year. So.
Some big decisions in your future.
I know.
Yeah, big decisions. Trial by fire for the first year, and then second year, Kaley said we're taking on another Formula event. So here we go again.
I'm a glutton for punishment.
Well, at least he got good help now.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to step up now.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. Anything else new this year? Of course, the app is still going. I don't know if there's any updates to that.
Honestly, we have so many things that kind of are in that little pipeline that we're not sure when they're going to be implemented, if possible, for 2019. But we do have a lot of little things, actually, like on the registration page on the SAE.org website. Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe one of the new things underneath the student profile page, like after they add themselves, where they put their emergency contact, there's now a feature where they can put any type of certifications or clearances and stuff like right. Mm-hmm. So that's a really huge thing. I believe Martha will be talking about that probably down the line. She's our corporate sales recruiter. And, we give the student team list to all the sponsors, certain levels of the sponsors, get the team list. And so they utilize that for their recruitment purposes. So one of the feedback from sponsors last year was adding a feature for the students to put if they have any types of certifications on that list. So we've added that to the registration.
Well, we will actually be, since Mike did bring up the app, we will actually not be having a student handbook this year, as the app will actually be taking the place of that. All the information will be there. You'll have it prior to the competition even beginning, so you will not have to wait for that student handbook to be handed to you or for that whole document to be posted. As things come, you will see them as they get posted as well.
Yeah, we just found it was easier. Some of the things changed, in the student handbook from the time we print it, which is we really only print it like a week out from the competition. But things will change from that time we print it till we get on site or even just throughout the site. And now with the app, we're able to change things on the fly. And I think one of the things we were looking at based on feedback, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, is so last year we didn't really utilize the push notifications a lot because we were afraid to kind of overuse that. But we actually got a lot of feedback in the surveys that we conduct after post events where students were telling us that we probably should be using that push notification more often. So I think that's something we're looking at doing this year. I think so. CDS Webs, the FSCOnline.com. We're going to see a few little changes there. Mostly just, I think, look and feel.
Yeah, mostly cosmetic changes.
Yeah, we're going to pull it all into more SAE line of branding with the events. Actually, the current SAE.org pages that are our pages are probably going to see a little bit of a change again as we kind of find our own branding way as well. So I think that's about it, maybe.
Yep. That seems about it.
I mean, definitely as things come up and we confirm things, I guess is the right word. So Ryan will be definitely in charge of posting all information on the news feeds, pushing it out on social media, the app. So I think as long as you're watching your emails and watching the news pages in the app and social media, I mean, it will be hard to not be notified.
Yeah, and speaking on that, make sure that you guys are adding yourselves to your team roster. With document submissions, I'm sending out emails to teams who may have failed to submit on the deadline, and some teams only have 1 to 2 people on the roster, which means only 2 people are receiving that email saying that this document is late. So make sure you guys get your team members added. That way everybody's aware of the situation that is going on.
And of course, subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode as we give updates as we go through the season here, including we'll closer to the event talk about previews of Michigan, Lincoln, and Formula North, and everything from career fairs to rules to everything in the lineup here this year. You're going to be seeing a lot of podcasts from Formula this year. So thank you so much, everybody. Kaley and Ryan, looking forward to hearing what else is coming up here in the season, and of course the events coming up here in the spring. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Formula SAE FastCast. As always, we want to hear from you, so email us at formulasae@sae.org. The show notes for this episode can be found at www.fsaeonline.com. Stay safe, and we'll catch you next episode.